To remove the top cover assembly, first pull out on the top cover release latch at the right rear side of the cover. Carefully pry up the right side of the top cover and pull the entire cover off of the unit. There are two large metal tabs on the inside edge of the left side of the top cover that fit into slots on the chassis. To replace the top cover, align the tabs into their slots. Swing and press the rest of the cover into place. The latch should swing back to the closed position when the cover is correctly replaced. To access some replaceable components, you need to first remove the top bracket. To remove the top bracket, first remove the top cover. Detach the two Phillips No. 2 screws that secure the top bracket to the unit. Pull the top bracket off of the unit. The front and rear edges of the top bracket each have a small tab that fits into a small slot on the unit. To replace the top bracket, press the top bracket tabs into their slots. The flanged edge of the top bracket should rest over the edge of the power supply. Secure the top bracket to the chassis with its two Phillips No. 2 screws. To remove the rear cover, first remove the top cover, and the top bracket. Use a slender-barreled screwdriver to loosen the captured Phillips No. 2 screw that secures the graphics card to the rear cover and the chassis. Detach the two Phillips No. 2 screws that secure the rear cover to the chassis. Carefully pry off the rear cover from the rear of the unit. To replace the rear cover, press the rear cover onto the rear of the unit, aligning the cutouts with the rear I/O and AC inlet ports. Replace the two Phillips No. 2 screws for the rear cover on either side of the unit. Tighten the captured Phillips No. 2 screw to secure the rear cover and graphics card to the unit. To remove the graphics card, first remove the top cover. Detach the power connector from the graphics card. Note, the connector has a latch that must be squeezed to remove the connector. If a long graphics card is installed in the unit, detach the two Phillips No. 2 screws for the VGA bracket and pull the bracket out of the unit. Use a slender-barreled screwdriver to loosen the captured single Phillips No. 2 screw at the rear of the unit that secures the graphics card to the unit. Press down on the graphics card latch to release the graphics card, and carefully pull the graphics card out of the unit. To replace the graphics card, carefully press the graphics card back into its slot on the I/O motherboard until it is correctly seated. Tighten the captured rear Phillips No. 2 screw to secure the graphics card to the unit. If the graphics card installed is a long graphics card, place the VGA bracket against the rear edge of the card. Secure the VGA bracket with its two Phillips No. 2 screws. Replace the power connector to the graphics card. To remove the front cover with Voodoo lighting, or the front grille cover, first remove the top cover and the top bracket. Remove the VGA bracket and the graphics card if a long graphics card is installed. Detach the front lighting connector from the I/O motherboard. Free the front lighting connector from the cable guides on the bottom inside of the chassis. Detach the two Phillips number 2 screws that secure the front cover assembly to the unit. Press on the two release tabs for the front cover assembly and pull the front cover assembly off of the unit, carefully feeding the lighting cables to the front of the unit through the small access hole at the bottom front of the unit. To replace either the front cover with Voodoo cable or the front grille cover, detach the four Phillips number 2 screws that secure the front cover and front grille cover to each other. Pull the front cover off of the front grille cover, feeding the lighting cable through the small hole on the front grille cover. There are 4 pegs on the front grille cover that align into holes on the front cover with Voodoo cable. To install a new front cover with Voodoo cable or a front grille cover, feed the Voodoo cable from the front cover through its hole on the front grille cover. Press the front cover holes onto the front grille cover pegs. Secure the covers together with the 4 Phillips number 2 screws. To replace the front cover assembly, first feed the lighting cable in through its access hole at the bottom front of the unit. Press the front cover assembly onto the front of the unit. Secure the front cover assembly to the unit with its 2 Phillips number 2 screws. Secure the front lighting cables into the cable guides on the bottom inside of the unit. Reconnect the front lighting connector to the I/O motherboard. To remove the power supply, first remove the top cover, the top bracket, and the rear cover. Detach the power supply connector to the graphics card. Detach the power supply connector to the I/O motherboard. Note, each connector has a latch that must be squeezed to release the connector. Detach the 4 silver Phillips number 2 screws that secure the power supply to the rear of the unit. Each screw location is marked by a stencil of an arrow with 2 circles inside. Pull the power supply into the main cavity and then out of the unit. There are guides at the rear of the chassis as well as a support bracket over the I/O motherboard that help correctly align the power supply in the unit. To replace the power supply, slide the power supply back into its guides inside the unit with the AC power inlet aligned toward the top right of the unit. Secure the power supply to the rear of the unit with its 4 silver Phillips number 2 screws. Replace the power connector to the I/O motherboard. Replace the power connector to the graphics card. To remove the light bar, first remove the top cover and the top bracket. Remove the VGA bracket and the graphics card if a long graphics card is installed. Remove the front cover assembly. Detach the light bar connector to the motherboard. Free the light bar connector from the cable guides on the bottom inside and front inside of the chassis. Detach the two Phillips number 2 screws that secure the light bar to the front of the chassis. Squeeze the two tabs at the front of the light bar module to help release the light bar, and pull the module out of the unit. The light bar module has two tabs that fit into two cutouts on the front of the unit. To replace the light bar, press the tabs into the cutouts until the module is correctly seated. Secure the light bar to the front of the unit with its two Phillips number 2 screws. Align the light bar connector back into the cable guides at the front and side, and bottom inside of the unit. Reconnect the light bar connector to the I/O motherboard. To remove the fan, first remove the top cover and the top bracket. Remove the VGA bracket and the graphics card if a long graphics card is installed. Remove the front cover assembly. Detach the fan connector to the motherboard. Free the fan connector from the cable guides on the bottom inside of the chassis. Pull the connector out to the front of the unit through its small access hole. Detach the four Phillips number 2 screws securing the fan to the front of the chassis. Hold your hand on the fan as you remove the last screw and pull the fan off of the unit. To replace the fan, press the fan onto the front of the unit with the connector aligned to the side with its access hole. Secure the fan to the unit with its four Phillips number 2 screws. Feed the fan connector back into the inside of the unit through its access hole. Secure the fan connector into the cable guides on the bottom inside of the unit. Replace the fan connector onto the I/O motherboard. To remove the I/O motherboard, first remove the top cover, the top bracket, the rear cover, the power supply, and the graphics card. Detach the two Phillips number 2 screws for the power supply support bracket over the board. Pull out the power supply support bracket. Detach the flat ribbon end of the hard drive cable from the I/O motherboard. Detach the fan, front lighting, and inside lighting connectors from the I/O motherboard. Remove the 6 Phillips number 2 screws that secure the board to the chassis. Carefully pull the board out of the unit. Place the board in an anti-static bag. To replace the I/O motherboard, align the port edge of the board into the port cutouts at the rear of the unit and press the board onto its standoffs in the unit. Secure the board to the chassis with its 6 Phillips number 2 screws. Replace the fan, front lighting, and inside lighting connectors to the I/O motherboard. Insert the hard drive flat ribbon cable into its port on the I/O motherboard and press its latch closed. Place the power supply support bracket over the motherboard. Secure the power supply support bracket with its two Phillips number 2 screws. To remove the hard drive, first remove the top cover. Pull on the green pull tab on the hard drive cable to carefully detach the hard drive cable from the hard drive. Note, do not pull on the flat ribbon part of the cable at any time. Detach the Phillips number 2 screw that secures the hard drive bracket to the chassis. Slide the bracket slightly toward the rear of the unit and pull the bracket assembly into the main cavity and out of the unit. To replace the hard drive, detach the 4 Phillips number 2 screws that secure the hard drive to the hard drive bracket. Lift the hard drive out of the hard drive bracket. Before installing a new hard drive, first make sure that there are rubber grommets installed in each side hole of the hard drive bracket. Replace any missing rubber grommets. Place the hard drive spindle side down into the hard drive bracket. Secure the hard drive to the bracket with the 4 Phillips number 2 flathead screws. There is a tab at the front edge of the hard drive bracket that slides into a slot on the chassis. There are also 2 small holes on the hard drive bracket that slide over tabs on the chassis. There are also guides in the chassis to help align the hard drive bracket into the correct position. To replace the hard drive bracket assembly, place the hard drive assembly slightly to the rear of its final location within the guides, then slide the bracket forward until the tabs and slots have engaged. Secure the hard drive bracket to the PC with its Phillips number 2 screw. Carefully reattach the hard drive cable to the rear of the drive. Do not use the flat ribbon part of the cable to handle the cable. To remove the hard drive cable, first remove the top cover, the top bracket, the rear cover, and the power supply. Flip the latch for the flat ribbon end of the hard drive cable on the I/O motherboard. Gently pull the flat ribbon out of its motherboard port. Pull on the green tab on the hard drive cable to carefully detach the hard drive cable from the hard drive and remove it from the unit. Note, do not pull on the flat ribbon part of the cable at any time. To replace the hard drive cable, first press the hard drive end of the cable onto the rear of the hard drive. Press the adhesive side of the cable against the inside chassis wall. Gently insert the flat ribbon end of the cable into its port on the I/O motherboard. To remove either stand piece, first remove the top cover, the top bracket, the rear cover, the power supply, and the graphics card. Remove the I/O motherboard if you are removing the right side stand piece. Note, each stand piece is separately replaceable. Detach the 8 screws that secure the stand piece to the chassis. Pull out on the plastic release tabs on either side of the stand piece and pull the stand piece into and out of the unit. To install a new stand piece, push the bottom of the stand piece down through its cutout on the bottom of the unit from inside the unit until the inside edges snap into place inside the release tabs. Replace the 8 Phillips number 2 screws to secure the stand piece to the chassis.